First failed story. Age of Change, Chapter 1.
Beep. 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 Shut up! Why is this thing so annoying? Good, the annoying blaring sound of the alarm woke me up, the Sleeping Beauty. Every morning I had to wake up to this sound, and every time it got on my last nerves.
If I could destroy my phone alarm, I would have did it in the blink of an eye, but due to my current circumstances of being a college student without a job, I wasn't able to. I reluctantly got off my comfortable blow-up bed, looked around my room, and all I saw were my clothes on suitcases, in a basket, on the floor, and other gerbil laying around. I couldn't help but think that I was a very messy person. I looked up and saw the ceiling fan and a pure white ceiling. I looked over to the walls, and it was just as plain as the ceiling. Having been in the apartment for about 2 months, there should have been decoration on the walls, but there wasn't any if you didn't include the stickers I had from the shirts I brought. The room screamed of creativity if blandness was creative. I went from crawling off my bed to maneuvering around my clustered room. "Man, I really have to clean this place," I said while looking at all the clutter. After getting out my small room, I started to get ready for school. I did my usual routine, which consisted of taking a shower, brushing my teeth, and all the other miscellaneous activities. I felt that I could do this monotonous activity with my eyes closed. That just shows how uninteresting my life really was. As I was getting ready, I saw myself in the mirror and couldn't help thinking that I needed a haircut. I had the typical high-top fade. The only problem was that it's been months since I've had a haircut and my hair was starting to grow back. Since I was on a tight budget, I just shrugged it off and finished putting my clothes on. When I was done with everything, I went to the kitchen to get a quick bite. Then I remembered I'm broke and I haven't gone to the store in a while. That put a damper on my mood. But it wasn't too bad because it wasn't like I had breakfast every day of the week, and sadly, I was starting to get used to it. Sig hi. I couldn't eat, so the best thing to do at this moment was to forget about my brokenness and head for school. While getting out of the apartment, I ran into my neighbor and future girlfriend, if I had the guts to ask her out, April. "Hey Jason, did you have anything to eat, or are you going to class hungry again?" "Hey April, I didn't go to the store yet, so right now, I'm going to class hungry. I have some apples in the fridge, you can get some if you want." "No thanks, I'm not in the mood for any apples right now, but thanks for the offer." "Stop playing around and get the apple, you know it's bad to go most of the day without eating," said April in a stern voice. I couldn't help thinking that she sounded like my girlfriend or mother, but mostly girlfriend when she said this. All right, I'll get one, I'll pay you back when I buy some groceries. No need to save your money for later, and if you have nothing to eat later, come by my place and I'll have something prepared." She really sounded like she was my girlfriend, and I couldn't be any happier. "Thanks April, I'll be sure to come pop by." I started to walk away from her, and when I looked back she had a smile on her face. I stopped and waved goodbye to her. By doing so, I couldn't help remembering back to when I first laid my eyes on her. She had the most beautiful light brown eyes, curly jet black hair, a cute nose, rosy lips, and to top it off she had a baby face. I know I shouldn't believe in love at first sight, but I couldn't help feeling that she was the girl I was meant to be with. Then again, I do fall for a lot of girls, and nothing ever comes from it. The first time I talked to her, I could barely get a sentence out. This might be due to liking her, or to my inability to speak to other people. When she saw this, she couldn't help but laugh. I should have been regretting this, but when I saw her smile, it took away my soul, figuratively of course. Waking up from my sweet daydream, I started to take a step, but midway through my stride I couldn't move. It felt like I was having an episode of sleep paralysis. Though I wasn't just waking up from a dream, it still felt this way since I was awake and had clear thoughts, but every command that I gave, my body wasn't responding. This state brought a tinge of fear in me. To my elation, this state only lasted for 3 seconds, but on the other hand I didn't know that this state was the beginning of hell on earth. Getting out of my paralyzed state, all I heard was boom 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 boom. I fell to the ground as fast as I could to protect my vitals, just in case something out of my control was happening. My motto was better to be safe than to be sorry. In retrospect, other people would have thought of this as cowardice move, but I didn't care because my life was more important than some derision from people I didn't know or care about. When I looked up, there was no smoke or anything happening that was out of the ordinary. I couldn't be any more wrong, because a second later I started to hear mournful screams. If someone passed by me, they would have seen me trembling. I was so scared that I didn't know what to do. Then I remembered that April could be in danger. I stored up my confidence and was about to get off the floor until I saw a bizarre sight. There was something green holding up a wooden club, and to my demise, the club was heading for me. Since I was on the ground and the hallway was long enough, I rolled to my right, just in the nick of time. The club hit the floor with so much force that the building was visibly rattled. When I saw that the club landed 3 inches from my face, I was so scared I almost shart one on myself. I couldn't help thinking that if I was a couple of seconds slower, it would have been my face that was smashed in. I knew that at this moment, if I didn't get off the floor, I would die. When the green entity picked up the club and was ready to smash my brains in, I started to roll faster than what I thought was possible. I was so thankful that I used to get in trouble during football practice, since they always made me roll with my equipment on. Compared to that, with the help of fear, I was safe only for the second. When I was far enough from the green thing, I hurried to get on my feet and have a closer look to what I was dealing with. What I saw was straight out of a video game. What I saw was a small green person with pointed ears, an ugly face that only a mother could love. The green entity had nothing on but a small lion cloth covering its genitalia. Other than the small lion cloth, the green person had wooden club. It tried to kill me within its hand, which was oversized for its body. From an aesthetic point of view, the green person was not pleasing to the eye. When I saw that the green being had a status screen above its head, I was confused. Until I read that what it said. The status screen gave me its name and what it appeared to be its level and the amount of health points it had. Goblin. LVL, 5. HP, 50. For a moment there I believed that I was having a hallucination, since goblins were mythical creatures found in fairy tales and video games. That just couldn't be right. It seemed impossible, but my eyes weren't betraying me. What I saw was as clear as night and day. The goblin didn't give me any more time to think. It lunged at me with the club in tow, just to miss my body by a couple of inches. It started to readjust itself for another lunge, but it didn't have the opportunity to. I tried to kick in its direction to give me a little more time to think. To my surprise, my kick landed on its torso. -10 HP. My kick was strong enough to take away a fifth of its health points, plus the goblin fell to the ground. My first action was to lunge for the club. When I tried pulling the club from the small goblin's hand, I couldn't. The small little goblin was at least 2 times as strong as I am, and worst, it had a huge disadvantage from being on the floor. Since I couldn't get the club from its hands, I backed up as fast as I could. The goblin was surprisingly fast, since it got up as soon as I backed up. I looked at the goblin's ugly face, and the goblin was noticeably angry. It gave out a small growl and lunged at me again. This time I was nicked just a bit on my arms. The small contact caused me so much pain that I started to sweat. I knew from that moment on I couldn't let the club touch me at all, or I might die. I started to think on our confrontation so far, and the only time I could get a hit in was when it was close enough to me to get a kick in, and just when it was about to prepare itself for another lunge. I looked behind me to see how much space I was working with. I saw that it should be enough for the goblin to get 2 to 3 more lunges in before I hit the back wall. I planned for the goblin to get to 2 lounges in, so I could get the ideal timing in for an attack. When I finished formulating my plan, the goblin was already in mid-stride to get a hit in. Once again, I was lucky enough to get away with only a small scratch. I knew that if I were to get distracted again, I probably wouldn't be as lucky. I started to concentrate on both of our positions. From the 2 attacks so far, I was able to see that I had a 1-second window to kick the goblin. Knowing this, I waited for the goblin to get another attack on me. This time, when the goblin lunged at me, I was ready. I jumped back, just in time to dodge the club-wielding goblin. I wanted to give the goblin a kick, but I knew that patience would get me through this incident. For the second time, I took both of our positions in. The goblin had 1 more lounge to go before I hit the wall and caused my demise. I patiently waited for the goblin to lunge at me so that I could at least see a way out of this predicament. When the goblin attacked me for the umpteenth time, I dodged. Knowing that I couldn't dodge anymore, I waited for the goblin to get ready for its attack. When it was almost ready to lunge, my window of opportunity arrived, so I kicked with all my strength. -15 HP. My kick landed on the goblin's face, and it was hit hard enough for it to land on its back again. Since the goblin was on its back, I had a couple of choices. 1. Try to get the club from the goblin's hand again. 2. Get behind the goblin and prepare to fight, or 3. Get behind the goblin and take the chance to run. I didn't hesitate to pick choice 2, knowing that since there was a goblin here, there might be other ones lurking in other places. I didn't want to be empty-handed if I chanced upon another monster. I knew that in games monsters usually drop the weapons that they use. I had to take the chance to see if the goblin would drop its club when it died. The goblin got up from the ground and spat out a broken tooth from its mouth. From this scene, I knew that my kick was effective. To my surprise, the goblin seemed to be in a small daze. I couldn't let the opportunity slip by me, so I sent out another kick. The goblin woke up from its daze at that moment, but didn't have the opportunity to do anything before the kick connected with its torso. -10 HP. I guess I wasn't lucky enough to get a better kick in. This time, when the goblin fell on the floor, I didn't wait for it to get up. Instead, I jumped on the floor. I didn't try to get the club from the goblin hand. I started to punch the goblin with all the animosity that I had but up. -2 HP. I don't know what took over me, but I didn't stop with one punch. I started to pummel the goblin's face in. I kept on saying, "Stupid, you made me do this, you made me do this." I didn't even notice that the goblin was dead after my umpteenth punch. I just kept going and going until I lost all the feelings in my arms. LVL up. The level up status woke me up from my crazy act of pure violence. I looked down at my hands and saw the goblin's warm red blood on my hands, and I was able to see how raw my fist was. I couldn't believe what I just did, so I kept telling myself it wasn't my fault, it was either me or it. I didn't want to die, so it had to be the goblin. This didn't make me feel any better about myself, it showed what I was capable of when push came to shove. I knew that I had some darkness inside of me, but I didn't think I would be this violent when it erupted. Getting off the goblin's corpse, I turned around to see April staring right at me. Like and subscribe.